led by Dawn Runge and Jolie Bond. Dawn is the HR Expert Value Advisor, and Jolie is a pre-sales solution consultant here at SAP SuccessFactors. Jolie, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Jesse. I just wanted to quickly introduce myself. My name is Jolie Bond, and I'm in pre-sales here at SAP SuccessFactors, and I'll actually be walking through the demonstration today. And I'm joined here by Dawn. Well, let's introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Jolie, and thank you, Jesse. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us today. My name is Dawn Runge, and I'm an HR Expert Value Advisor and also a fellow on the Wellbeing at Work team, and I will be taking you through some of the content with Jolie today. So let's get started. Every business transformation is a people transformation. We start with this because at SAP SuccessFactors, our technology focus has always been around the people within an organization and how we can help them live their best lives. We believe that no business can truly transform and change the world unless the people within it feel cared for, appreciated, recognized, and transformed. And you know what I mean. We've all felt that. Our mission at SAP SuccessFactors, through our existing and new solutions such as WorkLife, is to help companies help their people live their best life and run that way. So we have an organizational well-being maturity model, and this is what you see here. It's important for companies to figure out where they are on the well-being maturity scale. Some companies currently try to solve more basic well-being challenges around compliance or providing a safe work environment, while others are established and have a well-being brand. Companies need to understand where they are and where they want to improve from their existing state. So we use this model to help them when we start to talk about the solution. Like any process, there's always obstacles. Some common obstacles we see in well-being programs are things like, first off, the difficulty to personalize. There's several challenges where people try to make it too personal to the individual. And they may have a lot of well-being solution and offerings. However, individuals only care about those that matter to them at that current point in time. What we really want is a solution that can recommend things they can get involved with or work on that are tailored to their needs and preferences, but that will also continue to get smarter as their lives change. Another thing we see is that many programs focus on personal well-being only and don't also include organizational aspects that affect employees' lives, such as how they work with their team, their leader's responsibility to care for the team, or an understanding and connection to the company's mission and purpose. So we really strive to connect those things, and you'll see that today. Finally, while there's a need for well-being, and that's clear in most companies, they struggle with where to invest. What do their employees need at this point in time, and how can the business measure the value of solving these challenges? Well, we think we can do it. And I'm, at this time, going to hand it over to Jolie to really talk to you about SAP WorkLife with Thrive Inside. Jolie?
Thank you so much, Dawn. Yes, I'm going to be walking you through the demonstration today. As Dawn just mentioned, when we designed this solution, there's three key themes that you'll see throughout the demo. Really, how does the system get smarter and smarter by using individuals' preferences, but also who they are within the organization, and then continue to tailor well-being depending on their actions within the system. You'll also notice how it incorporates, as Dawn mentioned, individual well-being, so things around nutrition, maybe programs you have at your company around walking or wellness, but also the organizational piece. So how can I give feedback around my team? How do I give feedback to my company around my manager and things like that? So make sure to encompass those aspects of well-being. And then the final piece we'll be walking through with the solution, as Dawn mentioned, there's real value for a lot of you on the phone, is how does this solution, how can I look at user behavior, look at user input, and use that to determine where my well-being program should focus? So how can I take analytics from the system, look at user behavior, and then get an understanding of what my employees need at this point in time? So really excited to show you the product. Real quick, I want to mention our partnership with Thrive Global. For any of you that are familiar with the brand, that I don't really need to dig in, but for those of you that aren't, you've probably seen their digital media out there. They're a science-based organization based on stress and burnout in the workplace, and we've partnered with them around the solution that you're about to see, and also around the roadmap. As our leaders, as Don mentioned in the beginning, we've got a lot of experience around technology, and especially around people transformation technology, and combined with their services around organizational behavior change management, we're really, really proud of the solution we're about to show you. So without further ado, let's dive in. And as Jesse said at the intro, if you've got questions along the way, please put them in the Q&A, and we'll be answering them after the demonstration. All right, so I'm going to move here to screen share. And Don, if you can just confirm once you see my screen.
I can see it. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. All right, so one of the key aspects of the solution, as we mentioned several times, is that, and one of the challenges we hear a lot with well-being programs is how I might have, as an organization, hundreds of offerings out there. I've got things that can help with mental health. I've got programs that can help, with nutrition. We've got a lot of benefits. We hear this a lot from insurance companies. But how do you make employees aware of these different well-being offerings? How do you bring them together in a programized way? And also, how do you make sure that individuals know what's out there depending on where their interests are? So one of the first things that you can do when you log into the system, I'm going to go into this user's profile here, is you can indicate what your areas of interest are. So these are different categories for the type of content that are included within the solution. We'll get into that in a little bit. And you'll notice that it's a mix of organizational and personal well-being. And I, as a user, can say the things that I would prefer to know more about. What the system also does, though, is it can pull in key HCM information. So for those of you that might be using SuccessFactors Employee Central, out of the box, we have an integration with that application where it can pull in any key employee profile details that you might want to use to push content. So things like gender, things like how tenure in a position, your role, all of those things you might want to impact the types of programs, learnings, trainings, or well-being things that are available to individuals. So it can consider who you are within the organization, and that will also prescribe content to you. And I mentioned, SuccessFactors solution, but this is built to be something that is open, and it can integrate with any HCM and with any other well-being tools you might currently be using. So that's something to also keep in mind with the design here is if we look here on the left, this is my feed as an individual. So again, based on who I am within the company and what I care about, it's prescribing me content. You'll see the Thrive Global logo here. Their science-backed media content is all embedded within the solution. So depending on who I am and what I'm interested in, I've got content that I can quickly consume. I can bookmark for later. And as I look at content, as I consume things, it's going to continue to get smarter and smarter at making some prescriptions for me. So down here, you'll notice it's saying, hey, because of your interest in this article, maybe you should read other articles, or maybe you should take this self-assessment. Again, just one of the ways that as you continue to use the system, it's going to continue to get smarter and smarter and more personalized. So you'll also notice in this feed here, in addition to content from Thrive, is that there's different self-checks. We'll come back to those in a second. This is the ability for you to take sort of a personal check in different topical areas, but also the ability to take checks or surveys around how the organization is doing. This is some key powerful things as an individual. It's going to continue to tailor content to me on an individual level. And at an organizational level, the feedback that you're getting in real time. So imagine instead of the annual employee survey, where I only get results once a year, individuals have the opportunity to give me feedback on an ongoing basis around different topical areas. And we'll get into that in a second. So as I scroll down here, you'll notice again that I've got content, I've got self-checks, and there's also actions that are recommended to me. So based on how I'm using the system, based on who I am, based on my preferences, it's going to make recommendations of different topical areas that I could explore around well-being. So take a look here at this one around mindfulness. So maybe I want to improve in this particular area. We've got a few things out of the box. Here's how you can learn what mindfulness is. You'll notice that some of these actions are also tailored to things that are really specific to my organization. So maybe there's a learning program that I can take that I wasn't aware of. This is putting that in context. Did you know that we offer these e-learnings around mindfulness at work? This one down here is very specific to Yeah.
Julie, I apologize. I'm getting some traffic in the questions that I hear nothing and I don't see the slides, and I heard another person that is saying that they didn't know if they could see your slides. So I just wanted to stop and make sure we've got that.
Can everybody might need to refresh their screen. I think Jesse put a response back that we might just need to refresh their screen because it kind of times out.
That's exactly right.
Okay, perfect. So if they do that, Dawn, that should work. But if not, just put some more comments in the Q&A, and Dawn will be there. Thank you. And if we'll take the rest of the questions at the end, but if there's something that pops out, Dawn, that might be worth answering in real time, just let me know. Thank you for that. Okay, so a couple other actions that you see in here. This is one that's very specific to SAP. Search Inside Yourself program. But what this is doing is around this topic area, it's putting different program offerings that my company has in context. So if I want to explore more around mindfulness, I have the opportunity to understand what does my work offer? Are there groups that might be meeting up? Are there learnings available out there where I can improve in this area? And any action that I decide that I want to do and I want to incorporate into my well-being, my personal well-being program, as soon as I indicate that I want to do this action, it's going to ask me if I want to share this with my manager or if I want to keep it private. I get asked a lot, what about users' information in the system? And everything that users do, it remains private until it reaches a tipping point where it's still anonymous. So if those of you who are familiar with employee engagement surveys, you're not going to be able to drill into individual specific survey results. But once it reaches a point where you have enough information where it's anonymous, you can get that information in the system, and we'll look at that in a little bit. And the same applies to these individual actions that users are going to take. Anything they're doing in the system, any actions they decide that they want to do, unless they indicate they want to share it with their manager, it will remain private. What's really exciting here is that if they do decide to share it with their manager, there's a dashboard built in here where they and their manager can have a conversation around actions. The manager can see what his team is working on. And what is also really exciting is that there's some future roadmap discussion around how this could possibly integrate from a performance perspective. So there's lots of possibilities here, but the key thing to note is that I can take any action, whether it be personal or organizational, that I'm working on, and choose to share it and have that be part of my development. So let's go back here for a minute to these self-checks. As I mentioned, who users are, what they indicated as their preferences, and then who they are maybe from an organizational perspective is going to impact the type of content that's prescribed to them. And then as they use the system, as they consume content, as they take action, it's going to continue to get more and more tailored to their personal needs. And what these self-checks do is it allows them to answer different topical categories with a series of questions around well-being. So, for example, in this one, there's several questions around activity and recreation. And based on how they respond to these questions, it's going to give them a score and recommend content, actions, things that they can do to improve in this area. Some future visions for this would also be some of these questions popping up on sort of an irregular basis so that you can constantly check in with yourself. You might be at medium risk today, but how are you doing when you're traveling? Or how are you doing, this summer? Has your activity improved? Has it gotten better or worse? Again, it's that ongoing engagement that we're seeking here. So how can we make sure that in real time we're adjusting to where users are? If I'm at medium risk today, could this survey pop up a few months from now, a few weeks from now, just to see if this level has changed at all, and then respond accordingly. So we talked a lot about some of that, how the system continues to get more and more personalized, how users can get sort of this tailored feed or tailored consumption of well-being content. But I wanted to emphasize sort of the second point that Dawn made, where, a lot of times when we focus on well-being programs, they're about the personal well-being, fitness, nutrition, things like that. But we wanted to also include in here, in our experience at SAP Success Factors with organizational health, what are the elements that really help an individual feel cared for at an organization level in addition to a personal level? So you'll notice that we've got a business health culture score over here. In addition to taking self-checks around some of those personal topical areas, users have the ability to give their company feedback in real time. You can turn on or turn off any of these questions or surveys that you'd like as a company. But what this does, and I'll just go ahead and answer a few questions. What this does is it allows users to fill out sort of an overall health check score. Again, I've mentioned that annual employee survey, which is really important, but maybe a big event just happened at your company. Maybe there was some restructuring. Maybe, you had a merger or acquisition or something like that happen. And so you want to get more up-to-date feedback from your employees in real time. The way that they answer these questions are not only going to impact the type of actions that we encourage them to partake in, but it's also going to give the organization a sense in real time of what their employees feel around these different areas. So this is an overall survey around just sort of the general business health. And there can be a score that lets me know, like, how are you doing compared with the rest of the company? There's also different topical areas that you could open up at any time, and you could push these to users' feeds. Again, you'll notice you can turn on or off any of these topical areas, but what they'll do is allow the users to answer how they're feeling at that current moment around these different areas. And the third thing that Dawn mentioned that's really key here is that this system is designed to really help you understand what programs are going to make the biggest impact in real time. So, not only can you see what users are giving you, but you can also pull reports from the system that help you understand, what's our current health? What's our current engagement like? What are users telling us? Instead of us guessing, maybe we should buy a bunch of gym memberships or maybe we should buy some nutrition programs, we can actually look at employees' scores and their results in these different topical areas, maybe what content they're consuming the most of, and we can let their actions help us dictate where we should really finance programs in the future. So based on this result for the overall company score, this is letting me know that trust in my manager and recognition by my manager is low. So maybe the actual well-being program area focus for maybe this quarter or for this year should be around manager training, should maybe be around team building. The goal here of the system is to help you really understand what does business impact look like for your employees and for your company, and to know that in real time. As I mentioned before, you can't drill down into any further data points unless you have enough users that have answered that to where it would be anonymous. But if you do have enough information in here, as you'll see as I drill down into Best Run Corporation and I look at global operations, this is giving me a sense of how this team is doing versus maybe my leadership team. And so I can take these different points and I can use them to adjust for even at a department level accordingly. Again, what we're finding is that this is the kind of information that is really missing from a lot of well-being programs. The budget might be there, the intent might be there. We know that well-being is important and we know that we want to invest in it, but where do we start? What does business impact look like for my company, for the departments in my company, and for my employees? And does the system change and flux and let me know that where I might think I need to invest in today might be different from 6 months from now? And that's the goal of the system. Dawn's going to talk more about that at the end. We've designed some workshops to really help companies know. One thing we love about the system is that it provides you, it has hundreds of actions and self-checks and articles constantly coming in from Thrive out of the box. So for some companies that we work with, if you remember Dawn's maturity scale, some companies we work with that are really starting to get into this just use the solution out of the box. Let's just see what users are telling us. Let's see what they're finding to be valuable. But as you add your own actions, as you add your own programs, what the analytics will tell you is what makes the most sense to add. Where should we start? Where should we focus? where should we define our business impact? And so that's where we get really excited to drill into each company's existing programs and to see what makes the most sense from a starting point. Before I flip it over to John now, I'm going to stop sharing real quick here. And we have a major release of this solution coming April 1st. And I've got to give the proper disclaimers here. Everything that you're about to see is what is coming in the next, potentially coming in the next release. However, of course, everything is up to change at the last minute, but there's some really exciting major changes we wanted to make sure to highlight today. Again, put any questions in Q&A. If you'd like to see a demo once the release happens, we'd be happy to set that up for you. A couple of just big points is there's some major changes to the UI. So if any of you see a demo of this in the next couple of weeks and say, wait a second, this looks a little different than what I saw in the webinar, that's because we're really soliciting feedback from our current users. The product team is really working on making sure that users find this easy to use, that it's visually pleasing. You can't have a well-being tool that doesn't look good, right? So there's some really exciting changes there from a UI perspective. And then also the actions themselves. We took a look at that, and what we're trying to do is to make this be even more social. So you might have 15 actions that you added into the system, but how do you know whether or not they're actually making the impact that you want them to make? Well, this is where, if you see here on the right with this rating score, you can actually have users provide ratings, provide feedback. So again, it helps you to create a really tailored well-being program based on what your users are telling you. And the final thing, again, we have planned for an April release is a deeper integration with our Employee Central tool. So for those of you that are familiar with that, one of the really great aspects of the solution is that as major events happen, like someone going on maternity leave or someone changing jobs or getting promoted, it could kick off a series of events like let payroll know or let your benefits provider know. And we also have an integration now with our tool where someone, for example, goes on maternity leave, as you see down here at the bottom, or gets promoted, that can prescribe the type of content for them in the system. So something like Milk Spark, which is a benefit that a lot of companies offer for new moms, but it's not really relevant until that life event occurs. Once that happens in core HR, it can let the employee know, hey, are you aware of these benefits or these programs or these new moms groups that we have that corresponds to things that are happening in their life. So very exciting stuff. Feel free to let me know in Q&A if you've got any other questions about that. And I will turn it over now to Dawn to wrap up.
Thank you so much, Jolie. A couple quick questions in the chat are dealing with technical. Obviously, people are wanting to know about the critical data and the privacy concept. Also, I had a question about the platform, how it integrates, those kinds of things. If you could address those real quickly, that'd be great.
Okay. Do you mind? I can read those if you don't mind, just wrapping up with the last slide, and then I'll read through them and answer them.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. So she's exactly right. What we can do is, what is the best run workshop? And we have these. We offer them. Who runs them? We are the folks that actually do that. It's a program sponsored by SAP SuccessFactors, and people like myself will do them, seasoned HR leaders. And the purpose is to help you identify and improve your existing well-being initiatives. It takes about 3 hours, and we love to have everybody that's involved in well-being in your organization. And then certainly we can have it on site or in one of our SAP offices. Some of the results and outcomes that we've been seeing are very positive because it helps you, uncover your company's personal and organizational well-being offerings that matter. We can analyze the well-being maturity level. Remember that slide I put up? We also help you evaluate the personas within your company and the well-being impact level that you want to have and that you're currently having. And then certainly we help you determine the best well-being program focus areas for your business. So it isn't just, maybe what you think, but hopefully we can dig a little deeper and prove that, or maybe get you to consider some other things that you haven't already.